Welcome everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform weekly community call with Microsoft speakers. Today is January 14th. My name is Cesar Juvonen. I'm a principal product manager in the Microsoft 365 Power Platform community topics. So always here to help you to understand or at least to facilitate some of these calls and help you to hopefully understand what you can do within the Microsoft Cloud. Now, today is January 14th. We did originally have 3 demos scheduled for today. Unfortunately, there is a bit of a change. So John Miller had a urgent vet call and doctor's visit this morning. So his demo related on introduction on CI/CD with Microsoft Teams app CLI has been rescheduled. But we do have 2 awesome demos still in the pipeline. So Nathan and Mankirat is going to talk about enhancing Microsoft Copilot Declarative and custom agent with actions. Really cool really cool capability, which was announced in Ignite, and they're going to show things in practice. And then Carter Gilliam is here to talking about the introduction to the Teams AI SDK, super important piece in the bigger picture to understand what is that and what does it actually provide us, because it's a really cool capability. Before we go to the actual demos, we'll obviously go through some of the typical slides and recap of the assets which we have available for you to get started in Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. Super important to know, for example, the YouTube channels and open source assets which we have available, and also we'll recap some of the news. But just before we go to the demos, we'll also take a group picture with Together mode, so everybody can get ready on that one. Thank you, Todd, on already showing how it actually can be done. I saw you in a small picture in one of the screens, but we'll do a Together mode picture roughly 1/4 of the session. Now, we're starting to get a lot of people in the call. That's really cool. And let's get starting on the recapping some of the assets which we have available to get started and getting involved within the community. So first of all, we have our Microsoft Community Learning YouTube video channel at YouTube. This is a channel where we actually publish all of our community calls and community demos and a lot of other demos as well. On top of these channels, there's obviously a lot of official channels for Power Platform and Microsoft 365 and all of that. But this channel is where we are focusing really on sharing you a lot of videos and guidance on different topics across Microsoft 365 and platform, and many other topics as well. So we do publish at least 1 video every single day on that channel, but typically it's at least 2 videos every single day. So there's a lot of content getting published over there, and live streams as well. We do have our LinkedIn page and a group for discussions and update at LinkedIn, one way to follow up on what's happening and getting the agenda updates. We do have our open source assets available, but as it might be a bit difficult to find the relevant sample for you in those massive amount of GitHub repos, we do have our sample galleries, which is a great way of getting access on the latest samples from Microsoft and community. We'll come to talk about that one a bit more in upcoming slides. A lot of URLs to remember, but actually it's only one, AKMS Community Home. From there, you'll find all of the links to different locations, including links to all of our community calls. So we do actually run quite a lot of these community calls. We do have at least 2 different community calls every single week. This week, actually, 3 different community calls. So a lot of content for you to take advantage. That does not mean that you need to be in all of the calls, because again, all of the calls are getting recorded and shared in the YouTube, so you can easily follow up on them afterwards as well. Now, this call is the Microsoft 365 Power Platform weekly call. All of the Microsoft 365 Power Platform, they're heavily overlapping. Copilot, Studio, all of that stuff, they are actually, a lot of the technology is getting shared between these areas. So that's why we have a 1 call which is happening every single week with Microsoft speakers, and that's happening 8 a.m. every single Tuesday at Pacific time. On top of that, we have the Power Platform and Office Add-ins monthly community calls. The Power Platform monthly community call happening tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific time. That is mainly with community presenters. So really other community people building experiences for Power Platform, Copilot Studio, Power Apps, Power Automate, many other things as well. And they showcase what they built, and other community members can learn from there. And then we have our 7 a.m. Thursday series. It's either Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community bi-weekly show, or Viva Connection SharePoint Framework bi-weekly community, well, not a show, a community call. But that's happening every single Thursday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. So every single Thursday at 7 a.m., every single Tuesday at 8 a.m., we do have community calls. You can download the recurrent invites at AKM Community Calls. And we also use Meetup as a one service, where if you subscribe there, you will get an emails whenever we are publishing next week's call agendas advanced. So you actually know, is that a call? What are we going to cover in that call? Should I reschedule my schedule based so I can actually join the call and all of that? That's the Meetup service. And so you know advanced what we're going to cover within these calls. Like you noticed already, for a lot of those calls, we actually welcome community presenters. That's a great way of actually getting renewed as an MVP if you are already an MVP, or if you're looking at getting MVP status, or if you're just looking into, practicing your presentation skills. This is a great way of doing that in a hybrid mode or in an online mode. The only thing what we're asking you to do is basically submit your entry at AKMS Community Request Demo, and then our community members or leads will contact you for scheduling you on the right call based on your availability. So please take advantage of that one. Great opportunity of getting exposure within the community as well. Now, we also have a lot of assets to get started in Microsoft Cloud in learn.microsoft.com, AKMS Microsoft M365 Dev Learn, Microsoft 365 developer stuff, a lot of Microsoft 365 stuff there as well, but even more stuff on Power Platform at AKMS Power Platform Learn as well. So a lot of learning modules available. All of this is free to take advantage, so you learn what you can actually do within the Microsoft 365 or in Power Platform. For samples, we actually mentioned this already, but we do have more than 2,200 samples at our AKMS Community Samples Central location, which is a really great location to get some inspiration and ideas, or if you're running in a deadlock situation within your code and you're trying to find if somebody else has built something similar to get you unblocked. Go to that location, have a look on what other people are building, and then that location is referencing to a GitHub repo where the actual source code or the source assets are actually available. So we're surfacing a lot of stuff here from Microsoft and community as a one centralized location. Really convenient location for sure. Now, as you find a sample in a GitHub, you might be wondering, well, but now, I don't know, what is this GitHub? Or if you would like to contribute on those samples, you might be wondering, well, how do I do that? And that's why we have Sharing is Caring initiative, and David directly from LA is kind of recap what is this all about.
Well, yes, in fact, I am here in LA, and thank you, Vesa. I am excited for the new year with 2025, everybody. We are going to be getting things scheduled for January and February, and we're going to be adding some new schedules for new topics. So we're going to get a little bit deeper. We want to cover things like sharing is caring, which is how to contribute to the community, but we want to expand it so that we can help everyone out learn the technology a little bit more. If you learn and know how to better use the technology, you'll be more comfortable with contributing, and we'll be able to do it together. So these are sharing is caring sessions, which means we are going to join live Teams calls together. You're going to accomplish tasks along with other members of the community, and you're going to get a credit for it. And they're safe space, which means we don't record them. So you're free to ask any and all questions that you would like. It's a wonderful way to learn and meet others in the community. Really appreciate all the shout outs from everybody in the community about the fires and all that. So appreciate that. Us down in LA, it's been kind of crazy the last few days. So really appreciate that. But definitely keep an eye out for those schedules. We'll get them scheduled, and apologize for the delays on that. Been a little crazy, but we do appreciate all the love and concern by everybody. Thank you. Now, once you do contribute, you are going to be recognized, but only if you opt in. We need you to opt in. This is our recognition program. We are going on, I think, our third or fourth year, which is amazing. And we've got over 1,200 that have contributed or I should say opted in for our recognition program. So we're still moving through all those 2024 badges. If you had contributed, don't worry, they will be coming out. A lot of folks have been on vacation, and so they're coming back and getting the PRs processed and all that kind of good stuff. But we are working on those 2025 badges. They'll all be back, so more opportunities to earn the 2025 editions, and we're excited for all that you're going to do. We're going to try and come up with some more new ones like we did with Snippet Sorcerer and Prompt Pro. Of course, a lot of the everlasting ones will always remain season to getting and our regular contributors. So appreciate you all. Again, thank you so much. Let's make a great 2025 together. And Vesa, back to you in the Finland studios.
Excellent. Thank you, LA, for that one. Awesome stuff. I'm looking forward on even more batches. These are so good and great to see the excitement around them. Now, quick recap on all of the different events which are happening within this semester and a bit of the stuff in next semester as well. On 29th of January, there's going to be a special 1-hour Microsoft SharePoint focused topic on January 29th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. That is something which is live streamed in the YouTube channels. So something which you definitely want to have a look. Jeff Deeper, CJ Tan, Melissa Torres are some of the presenters there, and they're also doing a live AMA for any questions. There's also a powerful devs conference coming up in February 12th to 28th, 2025, and conference and hack together. So it's not just a conference, but it's also a hackathon. If you go AKMS Powerful Devs as the URL, you will find more details on that one. Great opportunity of engaging directly with engineering from Power Platform and also with our cloud cloud advocates. In March, we're actually going to do a really cool SharePoint Viva Connection Global Hackathon. This is more a UX hackathon and a UI design hackathon. So basically what kind of portals we can build, what kind of Viva Connection dashboard we can build, and you can even use SPFX to really go crazy with those portals. We'll share more details on that one right within the January event, which was mentioned a few slides ago. And then in May 6th to 8th, there's going to be the Microsoft 365 Community Conference happening in MGM Las Vegas, a great opportunity to catching up with latest on Microsoft 365, including obviously Power Platform and many other areas within the larger Microsoft cloud. Then on this side of the pond, because I'm on the Europe side of the pond, in Düsseldorf, 26th to 28th May, we do have our European Collaboration Summit Conference, which is this time 3 conferences all together. So European Collaboration Summit 2025, European AI and Cloud Summit, and European BizSat Summit, all happening at the same time in one location, Düsseldorf, to 26th to 28th of May. We have also TechCon 365 happening in Seattle, Atlanta, and Dallas. A lot of our great sessions on those, starting from Seattle at June 23rd. And then in the October timeframe, September was last year. October timeframe, there's the Power Platform Community Conference happening also in Las Vegas in October 28th to 13th. Great opportunity catching up with Power Platform community and the latest from the product group. And then the last but not the least, ESBC is happening again in Dublin 2025 on the 1st of December. Just to call out this one, and there's a 1 day only, 2 tickets for the price of 1 advertisement model, which is happening on Wednesday, 22nd of January 2025. So half the price of the conference for the ESBC, which is happening this year as well. On top of these kind of a premium conferences, we do have a lot of other events happening all around the world, user group meetings and conferences. Some of these are free, some of them might have a small cost, some of them might be online. Most of them are in person in different locations all around the world, from Dubai to Miami, Tempe, Arizona, Würzburg, Germany. I've even been in Würzburg actually many years ago. But a lot of different events happening all around the world to catch up with the other people in the community. So please take advantage of this. Now, this week, quick recap on the latest news happening in the Microsoft 365 and the Power Platform side. Not that many news yet still. We are kind of gradually getting out of the holiday season, so there isn't that many news, but quite a lot of updates on different Viva products and Viva tooling, also updates on Copilot, and of course, updates on Power Apps side of the house as well. A lot of interesting stuff there if you want to catch up on the latest from Microsoft. We also have our Copilot prompt initiative led by Rabia Williams. This is a great opportunity for sharing your prompts on Microsoft 365 or Power Platform on things what you've been doing or what you have realized that which is useful on the day-to-day work. Now, we haven't actually got too many contributions last week from the community, so the prompt of the week is actually from Rabia herself around basically a guidance for the Microsoft 365 Copilot this time on extracting issues reported in this chat to create consistent list on issues that can be easily used to create GitHub issues, blah, 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 blah. It's a really good example of a prompt which actually is providing us a lot of value as we start using the AI to summarize, for example, a chat discussion within the Microsoft Teams. But AKMS PMP Prompt Library is a great location for finding example prompts as well. Now, please do share if you are using some of those samples as well, or if you're using prompts, please do share those with the community. Now, before we go to the actual stars of the day, let's do a quick group photo for those who are willing to enable the camera. I will put my camera on as well, and I will move us in here. We are pixel perfect today, so I'm not going to change the layout. So we're going to have a default layout today. Just be cautious about the fact that I don't mess up this again. I've been messing things up a few times, but let me start GitHub. The Camtasia recording. There we go. We do have 50 seats in the room. We still have a few more seats, front row, a few more seats. There we go. There's a Kirk actually captured in the front row, a few others as well. I think we are maxing out, so let's do some hand waving. Thank you for everybody for joining. We'll share this as a GIF animation in the social media. Thank you. Awesome to have you in the call. And we have cats on the back row. Really cool. Thank you for joining. Awesome to have you in the community. Thank you for this. Always good to see smiling faces in here. And cats. Cats are always special ones. So definitely welcome on these pictures. Thank you, Stephanie, on that one. Cool. Now, then actually, let's go to the stars of the day. So like said, when we started, unfortunately, John Miller's CDCI on the Teams Toolkit CLI has been rescheduled to 28th of January. So we'll actually move into Nathan and Mankirat directly, and then Carter is going to follow up as the second demo of the day. We do have well time today, but if we are closing a bit early, that's completely fine as well. But I can see Nathan in the call, and I think we're good to go.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and welcome everybody. I'm very excited to talk about what the different ways that we can help you learn how to extend your Copilots with actions and get at that data that means the most to you. I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Nathan Helgren. I'm a principal product manager in Dataverse, and I'm focusing specifically on Copilot extensibility. And also with me is Mankirat.
Hi everyone, I'm Mankirat. You can also call me MK. I'm Senior Product Manager at Microsoft. So the areas that I work on are testing and analytics.
Excellent. So we're going to talk about a couple different things here today. We're going to show you how to do some extensibility, but first thing I want to do is just take a brief moment to talk about the different types of agents. So as you're probably aware, there are agents exist within Copilots, and agents are a way to take multiple different components that you want to use and package them all together so that your Copilot can get all the data you need to answer any questions. This is a great way for you to do things like get data from your enterprise systems, to look at documents that you want to be able to use, to find websites that you want to be able to include, and putting them in a single package. So that way, when you enable that in a Copilot, everything all works together. So there are two different types of agents that are available, and I just want to call out some of the differences because people are like, what's the difference between a custom and a declarative? What is a declarative? So first off, custom Copilots are now called custom agents, and then declarative are declarative agents. Declarative agents are built specifically to work with Microsoft 365. So they don't really do anything on their own. When you build them within the library in Microsoft Copilot Studio, and they are meant to be used in Microsoft 365 and Teams to be able to utilize your data. You're able to add in knowledge sources, prompts, and actions. You can put in data like starter prompts and things to help invocation and access the data. And all this information is stored inside of the library in Copilot Studio. Custom Copilots are meant to be used anywhere. So you build them within Microsoft Copilot Studio. You can use them there. You can use them in Microsoft 365, but you can also attach them to websites. You can attach them to other apps like Dynamics. You can attach them to a lot of different things. So it gives you the ability to utilize this much more broadly than just inside of M365. The thing is, you need to be able to understand your models that you're using. So you have to configure which model you're using. So like if you're using, for example, GPT 3.5 or 2.0 or 4.0, so you have to do a little bit more configuration, but these allow you to utilize these as kind of standalone items. We're going to be talking and using custom today as our example, but the items that we're showing you will work in both. So one thing that's kind of key here is extensibility of Copilot. So when you're using Copilot by itself, if you just go into Teams or into Bing or anything using Copilot, it's using base knowledge that's available to everybody. It's information that's being culled from the internet and from also the learnings that the Copilot has when it was created. Now, this allows you to get information about anything that's on the internet if you want to search for details like how do I write an Excel formula for this particular problem, but it doesn't know anything about your business. The nice thing about extensibility is being able to take your enterprise data and bring it into your Copilot so it does exactly what you need and lets you access your data in a meaningful way and be able to utilize that to help out your customers. So what you'll do is you'll extend that information by adding additional knowledge to it and actions that will be able to get to your business data. You can build flows, you can build automation, you can build all kinds of different things off of this that are going to help you make this Copilot do the job that you need it to do within your organization or your company. So if you have your, basically, again, as I mentioned, your general knowledge that you have are things like the world knowledge, natural knowledge, artificial intelligence, and that comes by default with Copilot. But what you want to do really is be able to access that enterprise data. You want to be able to access your apps. You want to be able to access Microsoft Graph. And the important thing is between the general knowledge and enterprise knowledge is general knowledge is available to everybody. It's available through the Copilot and through the internet. Enterprise knowledge requires us to be able to provide authentication so that it makes sure the right people have access to the right data. So we're going to show you some of these setups today and talk about these items. One of the things we want to just talk about are actions. So actions are how we enhance or extend Copilot's one of the ways. And there are a lot of different action types you can use that are going to allow you to add in information. So a connector is the Microsoft Power Platform connector. Many of you probably very familiar with that. Any of our connectors that are out there are available for you to use now. Not all of them have had all their actions tested for Copilot, because as you know, these have been built for, I don't know, 7-8 years, right? We have got 1,300 of these. So when you pick a connector, you're going to want to do some validation and make sure the actions you want to use work. Or if that doesn't work, then you can make a new connector or use a REST API to get to the data you want to get to. But connectors allow you to connect to any of those external data sources. So if you have your data in SQL, you have your data in Freshdesk, you have your data in Adobe, you can go any of those to get that data. Prompts allow you to basically write out a sentence that points to data sets and allows you to prompt the user to ask questions to gather information, and then we'll be able to retrieve it and display it based on different parameters. Conversational actions are basically Q&A bots. The old days that we used to have just the bot system, they're called conversational now. Flow actions allow you to build a flow, an automate flow that's going to be based off of the different data sources you have access to, but you can trigger it by entering in specific queries and information into your Copilot. And then REST API is just an alternate way of getting to those external data sources. So if you don't have a connector that's built and you don't want to build a connector, you can go directly through an API now and access your data directly. So I'm going to switch over here to doing a live demo. And we all know what happens with live demos. So let's be prepared for some excitement. All right, so here we've got two different tabs here. The first tab I'm going to go is, we have two tabs because one of these has some analytics that we're going to go over later. I'm going to pick my agent. If you're inside agents, you pick an agent, that's a custom agent. If you build an agent in here, that is a custom agent. Once this agent loads up, we'll be able to see the content that's available within it. And there we go. Hooray. Okay, nice. So here's our agent. And our agent has some analytics, which MK will talk about here in just a moment. Right now, we don't have any knowledge. We see that we had some actions here for Adobe, and these were added in previously, and that allows us to extend our agent, and our Copilot to access this Adobe data. So it lets you create a library template. It allows you to upload a document. It does a lot of different things. So what we want to do is we want to be able to add another action here, and I want to actually just get a list of all the agreements for Adobe Acrobat. So if I'm going to do this for a connector, and this is the first one I'm going to show you, it's pretty easy. We'll click Add Action, and then we have a list of actions that are available to us. And as I said, there are all of the actions that are available through Microsoft connectors. So I'm going to look for Adobe Acrobat, and when it comes up, I want to find the item that's going to let us get a list of the agreements. So let's see, which is the one I want? Agreements to search, get a list of all agreements. So I picked that as my connector. Now the connectors themselves, as you're aware, are a collection of APIs that have authentication built into them. So it knows how to authenticate with Adobe. We don't have to tell it exactly how to how to access it. So we don't have to provide secrets and all the other information you normally do if you're trying to create a connection itself. What it's going to do right now is it's going to check to see if I already have a connection to Adobe so I can set it up. So I do, and so now it'll allow me to set this up. Otherwise, it would ask me to create one. Now, here is my item. So get a list of agreements as the title. And then we have a description. This operation fetches a list of agreements for the user. So this information is important because the description is how you trigger the action through an LLM. What I want to do is I want to add to this a little bit. So this is saying it fetches a list of agreements. So I can always let's put in some synonyms. Get, retrieve, find, return. These are additional synonyms that now when I use any of these terms, the LLM will understand that I want to utilize this particular action to retrieve the data back. And so without these, you might have to type in the exact terminology. So that's a little bit tedious. So sometimes we want to put in synonyms to make that easier. Now we're adding this to a custom agent. We also pick what type of authentication we want. We're going to use user authentication, which means that each user is going to have to authenticate to be able to use this data. That's our most secure option. And of course, that's what we want. And then as we build it also, if you look at inputs and outputs, we can go here and see what kind of inputs and outputs that we have that we can specify here for creating this item. I'm going to leave this blank for now because I'm just going to use this direct query to get all of the data that's available. I click Add Action, and now the system is going to add the action into my agent. And once it adds it into the agent, it's going to show me that it's present, and we have a test panel that we'll be using just a moment to test it. So now we see, here's my action to get agreements. So here's a nice little test panel. MK is going to do a little deeper dive on this right now, but I'm just going to do this to show you that it actually works. So now that I have this set up, I will say get agreements. Let's see, open. Let's just do our open agreements on this one. So I want to get my open agreements for Adobe, and it's going to retrieve the agreements for me. It's doing the processing here inside, and we'll talk about the side panel here just a little bit after we get through the REST API portion, but it's returning the values that we have. It's applying my query and saying that it only wants to get the open agreements. And so now we have, here are my open agreements. So these are the agreements that are available through Adobe and the information that's available for them. So it's just that easy to extend to get to your data from these additional external sources. So now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to switch over to a different item here because I'm going to do some work with REST APIs. So what happens if you want to go ahead and add data into an agent and you don't have a connector built, or the connectors that built don't meet your needs and you want to have this a little bit more customized? You can go through the route of using REST APIs. Now, the REST API functionality allows you to use REST API swaggers or manifests, drop those into the system and configure it for use. So this is something that's a little bit more high code because you have to build your REST API or configure it ahead of time. But from here, the process to add them is very similar. So I go to Actions and click Add Action. It's going to come up with a list of all these actions available to me. But what I want to do is I would tell it I want to use a new REST API. I know the thing I want to do is not present here. So it's going to ask me to upload my specification. So if I click on this, it'll open up my search window, and I go to my downloads, and I want to go in here, and this is the swagger I'm going to use. When I upload it, it processes it and shows me here's the specification. So I can verify, yeah, is this the right item? Did I click on the right swagger file? I did. Perfect. So now I'm ready to move forward. I click next. Now I can go through and give it the name and the description again. So this one I'm going to name account ticket management service. Oh, too long. TMS. All right, description. This will be a service to get, retrieve, find, locate tickets, and create new tickets. Now, one thing I didn't mention previously on the other screen, and I'll take just a moment here to talk about, is you notice here we have a solution dropdown. So whenever you add in and build yourself a connection or an action, it will place it into a solution. Now, you can choose which solution you want to put in. So you can pick any solution that's in your system. If you have a default solution selected for your environment, it will stick it into that default solution. If you specify nothing, it will create a brand new solution with the name of this action and store it in there. So nothing goes into the default solution. Everything gets stored in individual solutions. You can just decide where you want to put it or if you want a brand new one to be created. I'm going to let it go ahead and create a new one this time. And when I click next on this next screen, it's going to validate that I have a unique name. It's also validating at this point my swagger to tell me whether or not my API spec is correct. If I have any errors in my API spec, it will give me a message telling me that there's a problem with the spec and I can't upload it and create it, and I would have to go back and manually update that spec and re-add it to the system. Next, we choose our authentication model. So this is a non-auth particular item just because it makes it a little bit easier to demo. But for example, you could pick API key or auth 2.0. If I pick auth 2.0, you'll see it's going to ask me for all the typical things: client ID, client secret, auth URL, token URL. So you have to fill in all the standard items so you have the ability to have full security using auth 2.0, and coming up soon, API key. And so you'll be able to specify all of that information. I need to put none here for this particular use and click next. And after it creates this next step, it will take me to the list of actions that I want to add. And so I'll be able to specify out of this swagger which of the actions I want to use. And this is extremely helpful because, as you know, whenever you have an API, wherever you have settings, you might have multiple actions on them. So I want people to be able to get tickets. So here's get tickets. And again, we have our description. I'll add in here, get retrieve, and then click next. Here shows my inputs and outputs, so the different things I can tell it to input to get the data, the different outputs that will come back when I submit it. So you can see all the information we have here to be able to interact with. There are a couple other things that we currently not going to dive too deep into, like adaptive cards and such. So I'm just going to head and just click past those really quickly, but an adaptive card will help it kind of change the display and give you a more user-friendly card experience. But we will skip past that and talk about that in a later session. Right now, we just want to show you building these, testing these, and giving you some analytics information. So once I get to this next stage and it adds that particular action for me, I can choose to add an additional action. So get tickets is ready. I also wanted to create a ticket. So I'm going to just go through and add that as well. So that's ready to use. Now, one other nice thing to note, as I mentioned, is you're picking which actions you want to use. So as we get to this process, when it comes to this next page here and shows me the list, you can notice that I have options for update and delete also. If I don't configure update and delete, they can't use that feature. So I don't want people to be able to delete tickets. I want them to create them and get them. I don't want delete and update as an option. So we won't choose those, and users can't use that within this system. Conversation starters, these are used within Microsoft 365 to display options for users to be able to have a quick click option to go to at the data. Since we're not going into Microsoft 365 today, I won't focus on that at this moment. So now here are the actions I'm adding. So I'll click next. And what it's going to do is add these actions into the system so that I can add them into my agent. Now, this is one thing to be aware of is at this moment, you go through the process of adding this REST API and configuring it, setting it up. That's creating it. That's not actually adding them to the agent yet. That's making them available to the agent. We're finishing our configuration. We're setting our authentication. We're setting all of our parameters. So it builds the items that you then can add to the agent. We're investigating ways to kind of streamline that a little bit better in the future so that you can do an add directly as part of this process. But right now, I'll just show you how this works. So we will come back here. I'll do a quick refresh just to make sure that things are available in the system. And as soon as this comes back up, we will add these actions to our agent. It's coming. There we go. Okay, good. Isn't that always the great tension moment for a demo? Everybody's like on the edge of their seats, like, oh, it's gonna work, it's gonna work. Cross your fingers. All right. So now we have the system. I'm gonna click it. I'm gonna tell it to add an action, and we will see our actions here. And so account TMS, I will see we want to get the tickets from the library. I'll add that. And as I click on that, it takes just a moment for it to process. It's going to check to see if I have a connection. It's important that it's checking your connection right now because it's seeing, do I have the permission to add this? And then later we try to run it, it will ask you to sign in. So this is just our verification and our ability to add in the authentication model. Hooray! All right. So now it's coming up saying, yes, you do have a connection. You can add this. Good job. So here's the action we have. You'll see right here's the description that I added in before. It has my additional information I added. Because I added that when I created it, it's going to show up every time I add it in any one of my agents. Here's my user authentication. And again, here's my inputs and output information. I can go in here and specify additional inputs and outputs, but I am not going to for the get. Then I click add action. It's going to add it to my agent for use. And I'm going to go through and add both of these right now because we're going to test these in just a moment with MK. So just bear with me for a moment while I add both of these. But as you add these actions, once they're added here and they show up here in the actions list, now they're ready to be used within this agent. So now I'm going to go to account TMS and do add the create option just as well. And again, it's double checking that I have access to make sure that access and permissions to be able to use that with this connection. It's going to do that every time you add one of these connections. It's going to validate that you have permissions to work with it. So make sure that even as a maker, I can't connect to something and build connections to something that I don't have permissions to access. And then I will complete this. And as soon as this is done, then I will be turning this over to MK, who will talk a little bit about our testing experience that we have and some analytics and other things. So as you can see here, now we have these two actions added to the agent. We're ready to test it and determine if it's there. Before I jump to MK, two things I want to make sure you know. If you're trying to use anything that's inside of these action section in your agents, you need to turn on generative AI. It may not be turned on by default. And if you do not turn this on, it cannot use any of our connections and actions. So that needs to be on. Another thing you might want to turn on or off is allow AI to use its general knowledge. If you only want it to use the stuff in actions and knowledge, turn this off. It won't use any websites and any knowledge it has built in. If you are okay with it using additional sources of knowledge, you can keep that turned on. All right, MK, would you like to take over now and talk about the testing experience?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nathan. I feel like everybody was on edge of seats to see the demo working. So, so it's amazing to see it. So, yeah, it's a couple of clicks and the actions get added. So let's get into testing. When it comes to testing, there are two things to note. One, that you have the test panel just on your right side, which says on the top over here, test your agent, which allows you to test it in line itself, which is like you don't have to publish, you are just in your system, you can try out before it gets published. And second part of it is activity mapping, which I'll just show in just a couple of seconds. But for both of these things to work, for the second part to work effectively, as Nathan mentioned, that generative AI has to be turned on so that it starts working. So let's get into it. So Nathan, I might not be able to type. Okay, tickets. So I'll interact with chatbots similar to what I expect my user to type in, and let's see how it works. So now this activity, as I was mentioning earlier, your activity map gets logged in. So activity map is like today, whenever you're typing anything on your test bots or on your actual bots, it's very hard to figure out what's happening behind the scene because AI and LLM world are so new altogether. I know it's like 2 years, but they're still a relatively new in the world itself for you to figure out that, okay, what's happening behind the scene? Did I put in the right query itself? Is there something I should have done while authoring it all together? So this activity map acts like a mirror that tells you how is Copilot thinking and how is it doing things behind the scene altogether. Like for example, over here, it when I typed tickets, it looked at, okay, yeah, there's something called tickets, is a connector which has tickets, so this works. It requires me to make a connection with my API, so it's giving me an option to connect or retry. So if I click on connect, it should open a modal for me to type in my credentials and go forward with it. In this case, because as Nathan mentioned, it was not something that we had a fancy password behind it, so we'll just go ahead and click on connect so that we build a connection over here. So previously, to build a connection, there used to be an experience that used to take a longer time. There was a separate platform altogether. But now building a connection is also in line. So you come over here, if there's a connection that's not built, it will just show you, prompt you, and you can just go ahead with it. So I clicked on connect. Because in this one, I did not have a password or anything to enter, so it just went ahead. I'll go back.
Yeah, let's move this down a little. Move the screen down.
Sure.
All right, there you go.
Oh. So yeah, like over here, and
you may need to request control again because I had to move the little bar.
Sure. Okay, I have my control, and now let's go to the test. Okay, let's retry it now. So in this case, what we understood from the activity map that, we found that as soon as we clicked on retry, what we see over here, Let me scroll down because taking control at different screens, so just taking a little bit of time. Nathan, can you scroll it down for me?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm
There you
go. Yeah, so as you can see, all the three tickets started showing up with the title, description, assignment, and everything else. And yeah, like it worked. Whatever you added in REST API, it started working. But the interesting thing is also on the left side of it, because you see that there was in terms of input, you just had to ask the get command altogether. That's it. In terms of output, what you got, which can be 3 items, 4 items, 5 items, like depending upon what your clear query is. So let's look at the second part of it, because Nathan also added create a ticket as well. So let's go ahead with the second one. Create a ticket. Go ahead with that one. So yes. So the interesting part is why I knew I had to add 2 of these things, but I just waited for a second just to see what comes up in input and output. So when it comes to many of these things, this model is very helpful because it will tell you what are the inputs that are expected by LLM in order to give you an information, and what are the outputs that will come out. Like in this case, it tells that there are 2 things that have to be added, which are like title and description, that are like the important fields altogether. And that's something that even LLM will tell you about it as well. But this becomes an easier way for you to go ahead and check out that, okay, this is what will come up, this is what the output is going to be. So I need to add all of those things. So let me add the title, add title item 4 with description.
MK, I believe it's just prompting you for the title. So it's just asking you what you would like the title to be.
Yeah. Add title item 4. Cool. And the other thing is, like many a times, like how as soon as I added title, the input column started filling out because it just captured that this is the right one. Next one is description. Now it will also ask me for description. And as description, I'll just add list. Just to make it quick. Perfect. Now let's do the get command all again. Let's do get all tickets. So this is how it becomes very easy to brainstorm and try it together, because you see both of these things happening side by side. And as you see that day, because I did not write get my tickets, the entire description was not sufficient enough. So it went to knowledge source altogether. So now you know that what can happen over there, and you can make the changes accordingly. After some time, it was able to retrieve it again. So it started showing me all the item 4 altogether. It took some time for it to course correct and give the answer altogether. But this kind of acts like your left side buddy in order to tell you what's happening behind the scene, what I can do to improve it altogether. If you don't see your connector being picked altogether, the most important thing could be description. That's something that you can change. Other thing is that you only don't have to rely on the right side panel in order to make any of these additions. You can also click on edit over here, and this entire panel will also open up for you in this section as well, and you can make edit right over there itself. If I have to change the display name or description itself, I can go ahead and change in this section as well. Secondly, also the inputs and outputs as well. And it also allows me to add inputs too. Like if there are more fields that I want to add, if there are certain fields I also want to remove, I can do that even from this panel, making it very easier to do it very smoothly. So this is the way to test out most of these custom agents. One, as said earlier, One, that you have your right side panel where you can try out the queries very similar to what a user will try and see, is the response acceptable for you? Is it coming in the format that you wanted it to be? And second is this activity panel altogether, which gives you an idea about what's happening behind the scene. Is it picking up the right description? Have you added all the right inputs and outputs? And it will always prompt you whenever it's missing. So you can go back and check out and improve it. You can make an edit in the action itself, or you can just click on edit in the panel the way I did right now, and just go ahead and add those details in. So this is how to test it. And after you have tested it, you will be publishing your agent and it will be out for your users. At that time, it's very difficult to analyze, are your users happy? Are they getting the answers that they desire? Are people even using my agent? So that's a question. Whenever you create something, that's a question that comes to your mind. So I just go in quickly 1 second to show how you can get the answers to it through analytics. So in this CA itself, there is something called analytics as well. There's a different tab for it altogether. Highly recommend going to the new view altogether, turning on this toggle, because that view is much more simpler, much more easier to read. So some improvements have been made. In this one, it told me, because me and Nathan have tested it for a while. So the total number of sessions that have happened till now are 18. Out of them, how many of them had multiple questions? 11% of them had like more than one question itself. So it tells you about the total session engagement rate, overall satisfaction rate altogether, and also the time range of it. So you have a filter above in order, by default it's 7 days, but you can always change it to a month or a duration that you desire it to see. Generally, this analytics take almost 1 hour to start reflecting. So if you don't see it within your first hour, don't be surprised. After 1 hour, it starts showing up altogether. So this is a great way for you to know that, okay, are my users happy? Are they utilizing my agent? Or if they are utilizing it, how many sessions that they had? And also just something to know that in this area, we are making a lot of improvements. There is also a knowledge specific tab in analytics, and there will be an action one coming up very soon. So all of them will have like a lot more details that will show you what's happening for your agent, and you can improve based on the user feedback. And yeah, this makes us come to the end of it. I'll just pause on. I'll just pause here for a second if anybody has a questions, or I'll check out the chat as well.
So yes, let's check up with the chat because we are way behind of the schedule. So we have other demos scheduled as well for today. So let's jump on Carter's thing and let's follow up on the questions in the chat. So if there's any, thank you for that one, Nathan and Mankirat. Really, really cool. Carter,
thank you so much.
I think. No worries at all. Really cool demo. I didn't want to interrupt you there because if we go a few minutes long, it's okay. But really, really cool stuff. Thank you for covering all of that awesomeness for both of you. But Carter, we can see the screen sharing working. I can hear you, I guess.
All right. Fantastic. Yeah. So I'm Carter Gilliam. I'm a product manager with Microsoft Teams, and I'm kicking off a series on how you can accelerate your development for a fully customizable agent for Teams and Copilot using the Teams AI library. So this is a complement to what Nathan and MK were going over, but looking over at the pro code variation of building your agents here. So I'm going to be starting off with just going over the overview of agents, but I'll go through that quickly as we've already learned some of that through the chat today, as well as the agent architecture, and then go over building a custom engine agent, but with Visual Studio Code and the Teams AI library and Teams Toolkit, and so that you get that pro code variation, so you get from to compare with Copilot Studio that you saw earlier and today, as well as just a demo walking through it all. And so, with Microsoft, we have the two options to build your agents, either with building on top of Microsoft 365 Copilot with declarative agents, and you have the option of building your own custom agents where you control every different layer of the stack. And so you're seeing a lot of that earlier with Nathan and MK. and going over with the Copilot Studio low code variation. And then now I'll be going over, you also have the option for people that have code oriented teams to use Visual Studio Code. So that's what I'll dive into here. And really, one thing I have to go through is why even go through and build the agents in the first place. So I think there's massive opportunity here from even just starting out. If you're jumping in, it's only been 2 years or so with all the AI revolution really kicking off steam. And so even with the beginning of your journey, with it's easy to start out with chat with your data and other use cases for retrieval information, where you're really powerful connecting different data sets together, and it's not too difficult to do. And we've had customers in the financial industry that are able to take huge amounts of different data sets, combine them together, and save their analysts hours from doing just the simple chat with your data analysis on customers' data, to be able to do that financial analysis in seconds instead of a long amount of time. And then moving up the chain, then you have some of the task and action automations with what you're seeing with Nathan and MK really walking through. So it gets a little bit more complex, and a little bit more opportunity to customize there. But then you have the benefit of automating and controlling those tasks. And then finally, where agents are really going to push the boundaries is with autonomous long-running tasks, independently planning, and being able to really act as like your teammate and going through. And so where you reach the higher levels, the more customization, tweaking, and focus is needed, and that's where you go with the custom agents, and then where I think also Visual Studio Code and using the Teams Data Library can have help you out in very specific customizations to really control your agents and those specific use cases. And so it all starts out with, at the bottom, you have the foundational models where you're picking out your LLM. And for the pro code side, you can use Azure AI Foundry, where they have a huge variety of different models to go and choose from to be able to utilize in in your pro code environment. And then you also have your orchestrator, which controls your agent, and you can choose anything from LangChain to AutoGen, a lot of different options here to go and have custom orchestration, where then you go and then can add in your different knowledge sources for grounding, your skills, triggers and workflows, and then start doing the autonomy with the long-running planning and self-learning and actions, where it really is a lot of options to customize and dive into. And then all at the top, you have your user experience, which in this case, we can go and look at the teams, or going directly into Copilot itself, as well as other options, even with going through like WhatsApp. And there's lots of different channels that we've been expanding into that are really exciting to utilize to be able to kick off your agent experience where you want it and build it how you want it. And where this looks like with declarative agents, again, that's using Copilot as the foundational technology throughout the tech stack, from the models, the orchestrator, and the user experience. And then you would be choosing your knowledge and instructions and grounding. And then when we go over to the custom engine side with Teams AI Library, you're able to then control the entire tech stack and then pick out every single layer that you want, and then be able to deploy that to Microsoft Teams and Copilot. Now, if you were paying attention at Microsoft Ignite and the recent announcements, you might have heard that the Teams AI Library is evolving into the Microsoft 365 Agents SDK. And this is where the Agents SDK is where you're going to get a greater ease into deploying to many, many different channels besides just Teams and Copilot. And so that right now is in public preview. Very exciting. Definitely encouraged to check it out. But as it is in public preview right now, if you're looking to develop today, we definitely can recommend going forward still with the Teams AI library until that's being built more out. But we have everything you build on the Teams AI library will be forward compatible with the Agents SDK, and so the knowledge here that you're learning with all the agents is still going to be compatible and useful, and you'll really just be expanding what you can do with when the Agents SDK is fully out. So, getting started with the Teams AI library and the pro code side is very easy to go. So it starts out, you pick out your foundational model, you then can customize your prompts, add your data and citations, utilize a feedback loop to be able to get your end user input if things are going well with a thumbs up, or if things are going, if the answers could be improved, a thumbs down, so you get that feedback so you can iterate on your agent. And then we have streaming responses which are in public preview. And then last, you can add in authentication, where we have SSO for Teams, as well as some other options that you can choose the authentication method that works best for you. And so now we can go through and do a demo and then walk through and see how easy this is to get started with the Teams AI library. All right, so right here, I'm just in Visual Studio Code, and then right here I have the Teams Toolkit extension for Visual Studio Code. And to get started, this is a great spot to be able to initiate your custom engine agent app, which is create an app, custom agent, and then you can have basic chatbot chat with your data, and you can customize your data, choose the programming language that you want from JavaScript, TypeScript to Python, and we'll go with JavaScript today. You have the option of using Azure OpenAI models, or models from OpenAI, and so we'll choose OpenAI, or Azure OpenAI, excuse me, and then once you get there, it's just asking you to input your Azure OpenAI key. And so how you can go ahead and get that is right here. I'm in the Azure AI Foundry with the Azure OpenAI service, and then you can deploy your models here. I've already deployed some models for this, and then there is a little chat playground that you can play with directly in Azure. But I'll just go through, and if you click View Code, you'll be in key authentication. You can go and you'll see the API key and the endpoint that we can then input right here back in Visual Studio Code. So we can go enter that in and then go back, and now it's asking for the endpoint. So we just copy that right over, and then we can go, it's asking for our deployment model name, which we can do GPT-40-mini, so you can pick multiple different models. I like GPT-40-mini because it is an extremely fast model, but still very intelligent. And so just like that, we have our code scaffolded for our custom engine agent, where if you look right here, you can have enter in, the README's just popped up, so that's always good to check out. But if you enter here, there is the SK prompt where you can control the instructions for your custom agent. And then, this already has popped up with a prompt right here, but it's completely editable. And then if you click debug in Teams, then it will run the custom debugging, which I already have this going on. And so when you're debugging right here, one second. Oh, you can go right here and then look at the custom engine agent that's already built just from what we've done right there, just clicking off this sample. So it's got some data already put into it, and these are the zero prompts, so we can go ahead and click on the zero prompt. It loads right here, and then we can send the message now directly to our custom agent. And so look at the response right here. It's got a good response telling about our Contoso electronics plan with the data inputted. We have citations as well as an AI generated label. And then here's the feedback loop that allows your end users to give feedback on your agent. And so all these components, allow you to have a great kickstart to your custom agent. And then you can continue chatting right here, but then we'll go back real quick just to do a little exploration of our code. And so we're going back, and you can see right here in the terminal with debugging, it is able to go and show the response based on what we've inputted with the chat for debugging. But then you can go and see if the response was 80 words or less. If you wanted to, you could just change that up and just delete that, and then it will change the limit of the responses, but not only with the instructions on how you want it to act. And with the data itself, this is where it's drawing the data from, but you can input your own custom data sources as well as Azure AI search in so many different ways, to where then you are able to register your data source in Planner if you go to app.js, and then have it customized in the My Data Source section to where you have it organized with how you want the citations to be returned with a custom citation, then going in the custom say command. So there's lots of options here to go through and directly choose how you want to customize your responses, what data you want to choose, and then as well as go through and have the specific planners that you want in your data sources. And then right here, here's the code for the feedback loop. So there's all these different little components that you can go through and modify with the code to have your custom experience, that what you want with your data, with your interactions with your users, how you want the citations to look, how those zero prompts, if you go to the manifest.json, you can have the zero prompts where it's the introduction to your user and what you want them to guide in that first interaction that we have. So every single bit is customizable here in the code, in VS Code, easy for you to upload. And then finally can go through, when you get to the next level of things, you can do similarly to what you're seeing with Nathan and MK, with going through adding actions or starting to do automations. You can go and do that as well. That I'll be diving in more later into another session where you can see the pro code variation of that. And finally, once you have what you want for your agent setup and you've debugged and you like it how it's working, then you can go and use the Teams toolkit with the provision lifecycle section, where you provision, deploy, and publish to Teams to be able to make it available to all your users on Teams. So just right there, we've just a couple minutes run through the basics of going through and building a custom engine agent with the Teams toolkit, for Visual Studio Code, which utilizes Teams AI library underneath that. So it was really quick to get started, connect with some of the data, and then you can expand on that, read more into it to connect your own custom data as well as those actions, and then be able to publish, to all your users. And so with that, the demo walkthrough is all set. And just a quick recap. So you have the option to build either a declarative Copilot with Microsoft 365 Copilot, utilizing those foundational parts of Copilot in your stack for a real streamlined build, or go through and build a custom engine Copilot where you can use the Teams AI library and Azure AI Foundry to pick out your exact custom model that you want, and then utilize VS Code to have specific tweaks of that code to have a very specific experience that's easy to start building with, and then powerful enough to dive into and build out and really go and build those custom experiences to specialize for your users in your specific use case, so you can have a specialized agent that delivers for your customers. And if you're getting started today, you can go ahead and just visit aka.ms/build agents for more information, and then dive through this, as well as there's many different samples with the Teams AI library that you can go through and follow up and build on your agent experience. And I'm happy to walk through those in another session with you all. And but feel free to ask any questions that you have in the chat, or connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to walk through all this, and really excited to see what you all are going to build, whether it's with Copilot Studio or VS Code and Teams Toolkit and the Teams AI library. And with that, I'll kick it back to you, Vesa.
Excellent. Thank you, Carter. Really great demos today. Awesome job, Carter. Also an introduction on Teams AI SDK. Carter is, by the way, coming back on next week as well as we move along within this journey. But thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Mankirat. Thank you for great demo on Copilot agents. Copilot Studio usage on declarative custom agent and actions. So a lot of new stuff covered over there as well, and great to see those demos. Now, next week, which is 21st of January, time is flying when you're having fun. We have Carter coming back talking about creating our first app with Teams AI SDK. And then I will actually talk about the SharePoint agent, which is one of the relatively new dimensions in this whole discussion. It is by far the easiest and fastest way to actually create your agent in the Microsoft 365. But then let's talk about also where it's suitable, when it's not suitable, when you need to go to the Copilot Studio Builder and Copilot Studio and Teams AI SDK. But that's basically me and Carter next week, and then we'll have more stuff again the week after. Cool, and that's pretty much it for today. We are a few minutes over time. I do apologize on that one, but that's fine. That might happen every now and then as we're so excited on the cool stuff what we are presenting. So in the meanwhile, between the calls, if you're interested, we do have our Discord server, which is relatively active, community helping other people in the community, AKMS community Discord. More than 2,400 people are actually in there having discussions between each other. Now, in general, we're always looking feedback for this community call, so we can keep on doing this also in the future. So if you have a few minutes, please fill in the form and give us feedback on what you think about the course, so we're able to actually continue doing this course also in the future. But that's it for today. Thank you everybody for watching, listening, being part of the community, and watching the recording. And the recording of this particular live call will be available in the community learning channel within 24 hours, typically a bit faster than that. And then we'll share in the social media all of the updates when that is available. Next call, 21st of January. But that's it for now. Thank you everybody for joining. Awesome presenters, awesome demos today. See you next time. Cheers. Bye-bye.